Many of you heard of the placebo effect. What if I told you that the 3D is a placebo effect? Whatever you choose to believe or assume that you are observing is your reality, is the result you will find. I want to share with you in this video a success story from a new client who, after watching one of my videos, saw instant results. Then she booked a session with me and immediately saw instant results. What is going on? Why is she seeing fast results so quickly? After moving her mind just the slightest, she was able to see her true power. And I want to share this with you in this video today. Welcome, my name is Rose, and welcome to The Rosey Life, where we help you free your mind and follow your heart so you live a life that you love. If you're interested in working one-on-one with me, you can go to TheRoseyLife.com and you can read the different options, or you can join the Rosey Life course and community, where I show up every Wednesday answering your questions live. Now, that community has, I think, 100 people in there now, or maybe it's over, but it is amazing because the love and support of very powerful creators that are in there, for them to answer your questions 7/24. Someone's always in there asking and answering questions, sharing success stories, and then I show up weekly live, and you have a 12 lesson plan in there for you to follow self-paced. And those lessons are not magic bullets. They're not even really required for anything. They are simply to show you to stop looking outside of you for your power, for movement, and look inside of you where all your answers lie. All right, so let's get to it. So like I said, this client, she's new. I only had one session with her, and she found me around the 4th of July. There's this is a thing, right? I'm another 4th of July person when I get new clients, right? I'm another one of your 4th of Julyers, and I'm like, I just love it. And I'm just so grateful to all of you who are here, and I'm so grateful to my higher self for making a bang out of this, right? So she watched one video, and this is what she said: I watched your video on not having to work for money. And many of you have watched this already, and it really went viral, and it's still getting so many views every single day. And the funny thing is, or the cool thing is that most of the comments, like over 1,000 comments, there's hundreds and hundreds of success stories of people experiencing something very similar to her. But then I want to talk about what happens after she booked one session with me. So she watched the video on not having to work for money. She said, I wrote down the affirmations that you mentioned. Now, what I said in the video wasn't magic. It wasn't you have to say it, otherwise it doesn't work. I just gave examples of things that I say, I just affirm to myself or just assume, and they're stories that I hold now. At this point now, they're just my beliefs because I've just adopted them as my truth. I've accepted them. So she says, I wrote down the affirmations that you said in the video in her journal, and she said, and that was it. She said all she did is wrote them down, closed the book, and that was it. She walked away from it. And then she said later, she was inspired to look at something she was billed for. Okay, she was billed for $1,070 from a doctor, and she set up a payment plan. So she already knew that there was this bill, and she had already, even before watching the video, she had already set up payments to pay this $1,070 back to the doctor. However, she watched the video, wrote down affirmations, closed the book, but later something said, go look at this bill. So she did. So what she did is she had already done that, set up the payment plan. She already knew she owed it, okay? But what happened from the new awareness, okay? So she had that in the back of her mind that it had to be paid. She watches a video. She writes down a few affirmations about money, all right? And then she says, but from this new awareness, she was inspired to call the doctor's office, and she found out that actually she owed nothing. It was misbilled. They billed her something inaccurately. She would have never, well, this is what I want you guys to see, is that she would have not caught that or not even been able to be aware or be inspired to call the doctor's office, she would have already had her direct payment plan set up to pay off that bill, no questions asked. She was before in the state of being of having to work for money, and that it was difficult. But then after watching the video, writing a few affirmations down, she moved into a new state of being, a new awareness of someone that is able to receive money without working for it. And that is why she was inspired to call the doctor to find out that she didn't owe a dime. So she went from owing over $1,000 to not owing anything. Do you see that? And that was how she manifested money instantly. So, and a lot of you are saying, oh, well, she didn't owe it anyway, they screwed up. But no, she would have never caught it. She would have paid it and kept living her life because she was not in that state of receiving, allowing, and money to come for her, through her, and she moved. Otherwise, she would have never caught it. And this is the thing that is so simple that, like I did a video with those sunglasses, right? If you have the sunglasses on or the lens of lack, you can't see that money is yours. If you change those sunglasses and put on the abundant sunglasses, then you're able to see money that is due to you, that's coming to you, that you shouldn't have to pay. It comes into you all different sorts of ways, okay? The other thing is she booked a session with me. And this was just a few days ago. After one session she set up with me, she sat with what we talked about during that session. And I'm going to tell you that in a second, right? So, but she said, after 10 years of failed relationships, and recently she had a breakup with her person that she was really in love with and wanting things to work out. But she found out her boyfriend went back to his ex-girlfriend to talk about the issues in their relationship. And she felt so betrayed. And she realized, she says, you help me see that she said, you help me see that I was assuming that people betrayed me. Not only, she said, romantically, but with friendships, with people around her, romantic, friendship, all relationships. She was assuming that sooner or later people would betray her somehow, some way. And that is what she kept living again and again and again for 10 years, witnessing this with her family, with her friends, and with significant others. And she realized that she was like, I was assuming that people would betray me. And so she said, you help me see that I'm connected to Source and I am good enough. So we talked about how she is one with all that is. She's not just connected to it, but she is God, and God is in her, and she's in God, and it is impossible to be anything less than perfect. You're not just good enough, you are that good in the good enough. Do you see? You are worthiness itself. That's why you're worthy. It's not, I'm worthy, I'm going to try to be worthy and try to feel worthy. No, it's I'm worthiness itself, and that is why I am worthy of the most wonderful relationships. And this is what she shifted into. And so she said, I sat with that after our call. She sat with that realization that she is God and that she is good enough and have amazing relationships with who she wants, just the way she was. She no longer saw herself as the black sheep in the family that she felt like she was, and that she was not loved. And it was so beautiful, and that she wasn't loved by her mom, and that her siblings were, they were favored over her. She had all of this beliefs. And when she realized that, she let all of that go. And she saw the love with her mom, the love from her sisters, the love from the people in her life. And then she said, I sat with that after the call. And then that night, I got a long email from her boyfriend, declaring his love and commitment to me. She said, it was amazing. She wrote in all caps. She says, how fast that turned around. She said, I just let go of thinking that I wasn't good enough and assuming that he would betray me and that others betrayed me. And that night she gets an extensive email saying how much he loves her, misses her, and wants to work things out with her. And he apologized to her for him going to talk to this other person. She said, I am so excited. I cannot believe this. She says, I can't wait to share more success stories with you. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, I'm going to show you guys here. I'm tilting it because of the light. Apparently it helps. Okay, so placebo effect. Okay, I love this because I looked this up on Webster's dictionary. It says, when a person's physical or mental health appears to improve after taking a placebo treatment. Okay, and usually in these placebo treatments, they tell you, we can't tell you if you're taking the placebo or not, and then there's half the people are going to get it and the other half aren't. So this is what you're left with. And so placebo, actually, this was really cool. Get this. Placebo in Latin means I will please. Isn't that cool? I'm like, that is so cool. Placebo means I will please. That is so amazing. All right, so mind is the only thing that moves. That's Ernest Holmes, because that's all we're ever doing. We're moving in the mind. We're moving consciousness. We're moving our awareness to a different state of being. Awareness of being is God. That's from Neville Goddard. So awareness, who you're aware of being, is God. The mind, right, is what we're moving in the mind of God, and we're becoming aware of ourselves in a different way, which is that's what my client did. She let go of the assumption that she was betrayed and that she's loved and always been loved, and she and that her boyfriend wasn't trying to betray her, that he loves her and he wanted her, and that's why he kept trying to reach out to her, but she was holding on to the assumption that she's going to get betrayed, and that's why she couldn't even accept anything from him or friendships or anyone else, because she really believed, and for 10 years she lived that. And when she let that go, look what happened. And she even followed up and shared some things about her mom, that her mom is reaching out to her and helping her, and she sees her siblings in a different light. It's really, really beautiful, you guys. So awareness of being is God. That's Neville Goddard, right? So in other words, taking a placebo, right, just like the definition, taking a placebo is an assumption. Okay, so taking a placebo is like assuming something. The body and thinking mind and feelings accept it after you accept it. Remember, acceptance is a choice. It's not a feeling thing. It's not a like, I have to feel it that I accepted it. What if I don't feel the assumption? You don't have to. It's just a choice. You choose it. That's the acceptance part of it. So it's taking a placebo, kind of like in these experiments, right? It's no different. They assume that what they're taking has at least a 50% chance of working. And so those that assume that they got it, they're like, no, I got it. I know I got it. They don't know, because what's an assumption? This is a definition of assumption. It's a thing that is accepted, here's a word again, accepted as true or as certain to happen without the proof, without the evidence. That's what the placebos do. They accept something as true without the evidence. So they're accepting, and that's what we're doing. So the 3D is a placebo effect, because you get to look at it and assume what things mean. You label and assume that this means that I'm receiving that I'm now this. You're assuming, and then the 3D is your placebo effect. It's just showing you whatever you're assuming it to be. So practicing the presence of God is something that I have been working with quite a bit with my one-on-one clients in the TheRoseyLife course and community. I did this recently, and I wanted to share this success story with you as well. This client that I worked with, she gave me an update this morning on our another session we had, and she said, Rose, last week you and I practicing the presence of God, and I kept going with it. And she said, during the session, what I did is I'm going to do this with you. And then after what happened is these beautiful things happened. She said, I'm feeling it, I'm knowing that I am God, and it came over me, the presence of God, when I was just walking my dog. So initially she was just choosing to practice, and then she moved into the knowing. Naturally, it came upon her. She experienced the unconditional love. She said in that moment, she says, there was no wanting, there was no needing, there was nothing. She said it was just love, and all I could see was love, everything. She says, all the desiring, the needing, the wanting, anything to be different, she said it just fell off of me, and I felt my completeness. I felt whole. And she said there's no words to describe this presence of God. And I said, you got it. And she said, then all of these realizations started coming upon her that, oh my God, she says, there is no such thing as debt, because that's in the mind as well. Everything is in the mind, and I get to choose everything. She says, I really get what Florence Scovel Shinn said, is that life is a game, that we learn how to play the game of life. She says, I read it for years, and she said, I got it. She says, but I didn't get it until now. She says, now I get it. Everything, it's the placebo effect, right? It's everything is what you assume it is, and then it appears based off of what you keep assuming, and the mirror reflects it to you slowly. So right now, if you're not driving and if you're not busy, you can do this later. If you are, you can close your eyes. Now, you're very used to being you. You know how that 3D identity of yourself is. You know how you think. You know how you feel. You know the thoughts of things that you want. You know what your body feels like. You know what 3D looks like right now, right? But right now, I want you to ask yourself a couple questions and answer them. Who am I? God. And then the next question I want you to ask yourself is, now I know how I am as my 3D self, but how do I perceive myself as God? How do I, as God, I'm God, how does God perceive itself? And you can ask your higher self to show you this. How do I, as God, perceive myself? And some of the answers that are very common are complete, whole, peace, infinite, and whatever comes up within you, instead of trying to think it, instead of trying to fill in the words that you've heard of many times on my videos or other videos, instead of trying to come up with the right answer of what you think you should say, allow that knowingness to reveal itself to you. And you're practicing the presence of God. What's peering through my eyes looking at you, what's peering through your eyes watching this video right now, that is the presence of God. I get goosebumps when I say that every time, right? That is the presence of God. It's always here. And this is what my client did. She practiced the presence of God this last week, and so many wonderful things are just falling on her lap. She said, people are so nice to me. They're offering to do things for me. She did a job interview that I'm going to share with you in another video, that they told her, oh, well, it's going to be a week before we get back to you. In the same day she interviewed, they reached out to her the same day with an offer letter. So many wonderful things, because all she's doing is practicing the presence as God, not as her physical self. In other words, not as Rose. I know how Rose thinks and feels and acts, but now I'm going to see myself as God, as complete, as infinite, whole, lacking nothing, at peace everywhere. Do you see? So I encourage all of you to practice the presence of God more than anything else, more than your imaginings, more than affirming or assuming or trying to figure out how to feel God or how do I know I'm doing it right. Just practice that presence and allow your higher self to reveal itself to you, because it will. All right, my loves, thank you guys so much for subscribing to The Rosey Life, and thank you for liking the video. And I appreciate your love and support so, so much. And I will see you all very soon, because you're all freaking amazing. Bye-bye.